This presentation explains types of ineffective listening, presented by Lauma, Jennifer, and Brittany.
Our reluctance to listen is legendary, and in spite of effective listening, most people show their inability to listen effectively, and in so doing, break down the communication barriers. We will go through the 7 types of ineffective listening and how they have a negative impact on communication. There are many causes of ineffective listening, and all of us are guilty of some of them at some time. In fact, it is almost impossible to maintain a high involvement in listening all of the time. Let's take a look at some of the bad habits that keep us from listening well. Here are the 7 types of ineffective listening. The first type is called pseudo-listening, and it entails false listening. Pseudo-listeners give the appearance of being attentive by nodding, looking you in the eye, smiling, and sometimes answering you. They may be bored, and they have heard what you have said, so they tune you out. Stage hogging is the second type of ineffective listening, otherwise known as conversational narcissist. These types of listeners tend to shift the conversations to themselves instead of showing interest in the speaker.
Hey, guess what? My doctor says I have perfect blood pressure and that my pulse rate is...
Excuse me? Do you know someone who constantly interrupts when you're trying to convey a message to others? Selective listeners are very common to us. We see them in our everyday communication. A great example of selective listening is that of a husband only tuning into what he wants to hear, rejecting everything else. Take a look at the following video as an example of selective listening, showing the differences between husbands and wives.
After 40 years of marriage, I have to say a man can make it easier by listening to what his wife actually says. And not saying, you never told me that. I know every man on the planet says that. I know.
Take a moment and think about receiving a bad health report from your doctor. In the following clip, the patient avoids listening and acknowledging the doctor's orders.
Hello, Brittany. I'm Dr. Conium. I'd like to discuss the results of your tests. I have some concerns. It looks like we're going to have to go in and do heart surgery. I just want to talk to you a little bit about things you should be doing to improve your lifestyle, especially after we've done the surgery. You need to start eating healthier.
Speaking of food, my husband wants to take me out for lunch. Would another burger and fries be okay?
I wouldn't recommend that. I think that we should go through some steps and some new measures that you should start incorporating into your lifestyle.
Defensive listeners are those listeners that take other people's remarks as personal attacks. If a teenager views their parents' questions about their friends or activities as prying or distrust, that individual is displaying defensive listening. Such individuals often suffer from shaky presenting images, but avoid admitting to this by projecting their own insecurities onto others. Ambushing is a different type of ineffective listening because in this case, an individual listens very carefully. Ambushing involves listening attentively to what another individual has to say, but only so they can use it to attack them with what was said. This type of strategy will often initiate defensiveness from the speaker. The following video is an example of ambushing in a healthcare setting.
Nurse Jennifer, hi.
Yes, hi.
I've been away for 3 days and I was just wondering if you've got any results on my dad's stats from his operation. I was kind of wanting to know what his blood pressure is today. Do you have any idea of what it is?
I'll go get some information.
Okay.
Okay, it looks like today his blood pressure is at 154/92.
You're kidding me. What was it yesterday, Nurse Jennifer?
152/90.
Oh my gosh. How about the day before?
It was about the same.
Well, what are you doing about it? Why haven't you looked into this? What is going on? My father has had a subdural hematoma, had a full craniotomy, and you have done nothing about his blood pressure? This is crazy. What are you doing about it?
I don't know. I'll go and look into it.
I'm not happy about this. You know what, Nurse Jennifer? I'm giving you 1 hour. You better get back to me and let me know what's going on.
Right away.
Insensitive listeners are those listeners that are unable to receive a message clearly. As we know, nonverbal cues and gestures are a substantial part of communication. Insensitive listeners are unable to detect nonverbal communication and instead take a speaker's remarks literally or at face value.
Listen up now, hear the words I say. I bring this straight to you from a down-homey day. Lend me your ears and focus your eyes. There's a few things you better recognize. Ineffective listening is a big problem today. There's insulated, defensive, insensitive, and ambushing. Pseudo-listening ain't listening, just pretending to. Stage hogging's whack, don't be one-up and foo.